안녕하세요. 한국 시간 4월 22일 새벽 드디어 월드 오브 워크래프트의 새로운 확장팩 용군단의 발표가 있었습니다. 오늘 특별하게 월드 오브 워크래프트의 게임 디렉터시죠. 이언 헤지코스타스님을 모시고 새로운 확장팩 용군단에 대해서 여러분들이 궁금해하시는 내용을 듣는 시간을 가져보았습니다. 와우 커뮤니티에서 이안님을 잘 모르시는 분들은 거의 없을 거라고 생각되지만 잠깐 소개해드리자면 2008년 게임 디자이너로 블리자드에 처음 입사하셨고 대부분의 던전과 공격대 설계 그리고 캐릭터 직업 설계나 밸런싱, 업적 시스템까지 담당해 오셨습니다. 현재는 와우를 총괄하는 게임 디렉터로 전반적인 방향성을 이끌고 계시죠. 커뮤니티에 널리 알려진 내용 중에서 두 가지 정도 소개해드리자면은 첫 번째로 이안님이 하버드대를 졸업하시고 워싱턴 DC에서 변호사를 하셨다는 점이 있고요. 두 번째로는 티어리 크래프트로 굉장히 유명했던 길드의 공대장을 맡아서 열렬한 또 와우저로 레이드를 열심히 하셨던 과거가 있습니다. 현재는 와우의 개발자로 전직하셔서 벌써 15년째 와우 커뮤니티와 함께하고 계시다는 점 알려드립니다. 그럼 지금부터 이언님을 직접 만나 뵙고 용군단에 대한 이야기를 들어보도록 하겠습니다. Hello, Ian. Nice to meet you. Okay, I'm Kim Gite from the Korean WoW community portion. Feel free to call me Luke. Yeah. First of all, that's for your time. You must have had a hectic day considering the big morning announcement. I'm not sure if you ever heard of your nickname in Korean WoW community. Did you heard?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Which one?
It is God Ian. Yeah. Players say that this when is there is good sign that WoW evolving through method such as easier leveling and more enjoyable content, of course less homework and uncountable mounts that everyone loves. Says you got Ian.
And we want, yes, all of those things are exactly what we want to provide.
Hope this new expansion will bring us the chance to call you Guardian again, I hope. And now I'd like to start with my first question. 용군단이 드디어 오늘 공개되었습니다. 디렉터로서 설레이면서도 또 한편으로는 떨리고 긴장되는 마음도 있을 것 같은데 유저들의 첫 반응에 대해서 개발팀이 현재 어떠한 상태인지 궁금합니다.
It's been really exciting so far. I think, unfortunately, to be perfectly honest, I haven't had a chance to really dig into all of the community reactions and Twitter threads and forum posts and everything else. But what I have seen has definitely been encouraging. I think this is an expansion where really from the ground up, a lot of the ideas that went into it are a response to the feedback that we've been hearing from the community about the types of stories they wanted from us, about the type of world they wanted to explore, and what they wanted from its systems. And so far, it's really encouraging to hear that reaction. Beginning the process, the conversation in our alpha and beta test to come that will make the game everything that players deserve.
신종족 드랙티르 그리고 신직업 기원사가 발표되었습니다. 기존의 죽음의 기사는 리치왕, 수도사는 판다렌 부류마스터, 그리고 악마사냥꾼은 1, 2단에서 영감을 얻은 것으로 알려져 있는데 드랙티르 기원사는 어디에서 영감을 얻으셨나요? 그리고 설정상 탱커 역할군도 가능하지 않을까 생각되는데 원거리 딜러와 힐러 두 가지 전문화로만 구성된 이유도 궁금합니다.
This is the perfect creation that blends the best of humanity and the best of dragonkind that can channel all of the powers of the aspects. The Drakthir were created by Neltharion, the original black aspect, long ago. And I think pursuit of that perfect experiment is what we've seen guide Nefarian and other black dragons in their experiments and creating chromatic draconids and others, all trying to replicate this original superior type of dragon. In terms of the roles that made sense for them, part of it is when we think about wings, we think about the physical attributes of a dragon. That it almost speaks to movements. It speaks to attacking from a distance, breath weapons, things like that. And by definition, tanking in Azeroth in World of Warcraft means being up in front of your enemy, having them strike you in the face, and that the fantasy just didn't feel quite as on point there. this class is initially only going to have 2 specializations. There's certainly room in the future to add a third, but for now, range DPS and healer is where we're focused.
드랙티르 기원사의 강화 시스템인데 이 새로운 시스템이 추가됩니다. 와우를 오랫동안 즐기셨던 유저분들 입장에서는 굉장히 흥미로우면서도 한편으로는 특정 상황, 예를 들면은 레이드에 바닥을 피해야 되는 무빙이 많은 상황 같은 데서 이거 쉽게 사용할 수 있을까? 이런 의문도 드는데 개발진에서는 어떻게 생각하고 계신지 궁금합니다.
Yes, I think certainly there are challenges when introducing a new mechanism of control like this. I think if anything, high movement situations are an area where there's a lot of flexibility here, where this type of mechanic can shine. If you think about it, a spell that empowers, it's a spell that either can have a 1 second, 2 second, or 3 second cast time, and you can choose which one is best for your situation. And maybe in a high movement situation, you can stop and fire off a quick 1 second burst of dragon breath. But after you've reached your destination, or if you can plant, or that your tank is going to pull in a bunch of enemies in front of you in a couple of seconds, you can charge up a much bigger attack. And so I think we're really excited to see how the skilled players in WoW are going to make use of this new mechanic when playing the Evoker.
특성 시스템에도 대대적인 개편이 발표되었습니다. 기존의 트리 시스템인데 트리 시스템은 다양한 선택지가 존재하긴 하지만 특정 트리로 사실상 강제된다는 점이 문제였던 것으로 기억하는데요. 아즈라이트나 성약, 영웅 결속 등도 선택지는 다양하지만 효율 면에서 특정 선택지만 인기 있었다는 점이 아쉬움으로 남아 있습니다. 이에 대한 해결 방안으로 무엇을 생각하고 계신지 궁금합니다.
Yes, so I think players are going to min-max. Players are going to research and figure out what they think is best for a certain situation. I don't think that's a problem, and I don't think that's something that we can fight. I think we have to embrace it and offer a system that allows for interesting choice within that. And so I think problems with Covenant choice, for example, arose from the feeling that you had to make a nearly permanent choice that meant that you felt limited in other situations. The original classic talents had an increasing respec cost that was one of the inspirations for things like Azerite respec costs. Part of what we've learned from watching modern players play classic is that modern players just want something different, and they're going to play differently, and they're going to fight through those respec costs and enjoy the game less because of them. And so as we created the new system, there are 2 big things that we're doing to address this. First, we have the ability to save off multiple talent loadouts, as we saw briefly in the deep dive earlier today. So you can have a saved loadout, a template for Mythic Plus, for single target DPS, for AoE, for PvP. You have to go back to town to a trainer to change the individual loadout. But once you're in the field, you can just switch specs with no restriction and no cost. So if you want to go from patchwork single target fight to AoE, you can just do that. You can't change during combat, but otherwise you can change easily. The second thing is having 2 separate trees, one that is for the class and one that is for the specialization. Because we know if we ask you to choose between more damage or more healing being better at your core role or some utility, some hybrid function, you're going to take the extra damage every time, and that's not an interesting choice. But now when you have your restoration druid points that you spend in your resto tree, and your druid points that you spend on things like improved shapeshifting or utility or movement or control, those could be interesting choices that players reach different results in examining.
용군단에서는 5 용군단, 그리고 알렉스트라자나 레시온이 중심 인물로 나와서 이야기를 이끌어 나갈 것으로 현재 보입니다. 한동안 스토리의 메인 줄기에서는 벗어나 있었던 용들인데 이들에게 무슨 일이 있었던 것일까요? 그리고 최종 보스에 대한 정보가 아직 없는데 이번 확장팩의 최종 보스는 누구인지 개발팀 내부에서 정해졌는지 이런 것도 답변 부탁드리겠습니다.
Yes, so I think the story of Dragon Isles is definitely going to be very closely intertwined with the dragon flights and the aspects that once led them. And for some, we know that's Alexstrasza, or we've seen Calicos rise to become the blue aspect. Others are in doubt. There is no black aspect, and Rathian may aspire to hold that title one day, but there are other black dragons who might as well. Ysera was the green aspect, but she has just been through something horrific in the Shadowlands, and we'll understand more how that journey touched her. And so all of these stories are going to be a central part of what we discover over the course of our exploration. As for the big bosses, major raid bosses and final boss, we have these things planned out, but this is not an expansion where there is upfront immediately a single villain who's going to, destroy Azeroth, who we have to stop. I think a close analogy in some ways is Mists of Pandaria, where we arrived at a new land with a culture and different problems and different threats. And over the course of those journeys, we quickly came to understand who those threats were. But the story of Pandaria was not, oh, the Mogu have to be stopped because they're going to destroy Azeroth. It was an environmental story that you discovered as you went through the place. And so our plan with Dragonflight and the Dragon Isles is similar. And our hope is that by the end of those first weeks, it will be clear who the major villains are and where our fight will take us.
최근 확장팩들에서는 1인 또는 3인 컨텐츠를 정착시키기 위한 개발진분들의 노력을 저희가 볼 수 있었습니다. 예를 들면은 공포의 환영도 있었고 군도 탐험, 또 토르가스트 등도 있었죠. 현재 와우에서는 20인 이상의 대규모 레이드 컨텐츠와 5인 세기룰 파티 시스템이 핵심 엔드 컨텐츠인데 1에서 3인 컨텐츠들이 이 기존의 레이드 세기와 차별화되는 점은 무엇인지 궁금합니다. 그리고 이번 용군단 확장팩에서도 1에서 3인 컨텐츠로 계획하고 계신 게 있는지 또 궁금합니다.
We don't currently have any plans for instanced 1 to 3 player content like Torghast or scenarios. I think right now that's something that we want to do more of in our outdoor world, where there are areas in the outdoor world that will really encourage and reward players for forming small parties that aren't necessarily based on specific roles, where you don't necessarily need a tank and a healer and a specific party makeup, but where the areas are just a bit too dangerous for one player to go alone. And yet there are still rewards and reasons to want to do that. We still want to explore, flexible size, small group content, but there wasn't a specific fit for Dragon Isles and Dragonflight the way Torghast fit into Shadowlands.
디렉터이자 한 명의 와우저로서 이한님이 이번 용군단에서 새롭게 추가되는 컨텐츠 또는 시스템 중에서 가장 기대가 되는 것은 어떤 것인가요?
It's a great question. I have to say, I could say the talent system, but I've already talked about that, and I want to talk about something new. So something I would like to talk about that I haven't had a chance to yet is some changes coming to Mythic Plus in Dragonflight and how we approach the Mythic Plus system. I think we're really, excited with this system that has made dungeons a major part of World of Warcraft gameplay. But we've definitely heard and seen and experienced ourselves that no matter what we do with affixes, running the same dungeon for 18 months, by the end of it, you're pretty tired of the dungeon. You're tired of trying to farm the same trinket up season after season. And so we want to do more there. And our plan for Shadowlands Season 4 is actually in some ways a preview of what we hope to do for Dragonflight, which is to say Dragonflight will have 8 new dungeons, but our current thinking is that Season 1 Mythic Plus in Dragonflight will only have Mythic Plus versions of 4 of those dungeons, alongside 4 dungeons from past expansions that will get all new Mythic Plus modes. So imagine Mythic Plus of some of your favorite dungeons from Pandaria, Draenor, or elsewhere, alongside new Dragonflight dungeons. Then for Season 2, we can have 4 other Dragonflight dungeons and 4 other old dungeons for a completely new pool of 8 different dungeons with new loot, new challenges to overcome, and hopefully a much fresher experience. And so we're really excited to really draw upon the wealth of the 100+ dungeons we've created over the course of World of Warcraft's history and offer a much deeper and more varied Mythic Plus experience in Dragonflight.
오늘 용군단 시네마틱과 확장팩 심층 분석을 보니 이제 완전히 새로운 이야기가 시작된다고 느껴집니다. 10이라는 숫자가 좀 특별한 숫자이기도 하고요. 이 새로운 시작을 맞는 와우의 디렉터로서 특별히 한국 유저분들에게 드리고 싶은 말이 있다면 이 자리를 빌어서 부탁드리겠습니다.
Absolutely. I'm on behalf of the team. We are just excited and humbled to share what we've been working on. We want to invite and welcome everybody to return to Azeroth from the Shadowlands for this bright, uplifting new journey into a world of dragons, of adventure, new stories to explore and discover, and hopefully the beginning of not just a new age of dragons, but a new age of World of Warcraft. And we're laying the foundations with our systems for many, many years to come, and can't wait for players to join us on this journey, to hear your feedback, and to have a conversation about how we can make the game everything that you want it to be.
발표 당일 엄청나게 바쁜 스케줄이었을 텐데도 이렇게 시간을 내주신 이언님께 감사의 말씀드리고요. 또 저 개인적으로도 굉장히 떨리면서도 한편으로는 기뻤던 인터뷰였습니다. 앞으로도 한국 플레이어분들의 이야기를 저희가 잘 전달해드리고 또 이언님을 포함해서 와우 개발진분들의 생각을 이렇게 들어볼 수 있는 시간이 앞으로 더 많아지기를 저희가 기대해 보겠습니다. 오늘 끝까지 시청해주신 여러분들 감사합니다.